Welcome to the Business Finance Bulletin, episode 121. Welcome again to this week's Business Finance Bulletin with me, Rob Warlow from Business Loan Services. In this week's bulletin, a look at confidence levels, risk factors facing small businesses, bank lending figures, and in my business finance tip of the week, why it always pays to be upfront with your lender. Let's start this week's bulletin by taking a look at perceived levels of risk and how small business owners are treating it. Now, Zurich Insurance have just come out with a new survey as part of their regular SME risk index, and of the 1,000 business owners they spoke to, they found that 39% of business owners say they are facing an increased level of risk when compared to the same period last year. In fact, 8% of those businesses said they have actually considered closing their businesses down. That's certainly a bit drastic, but it links in with themes from the previous bulletins. We're talking about confidence levels are taking a hit, particularly down to the forthcoming European Union referendum that we're facing in June. There's also links in with findings from Deloitte, where they went and spoke to a number of chief financial officers or CFOs of businesses in Europe, and where economic uncertainty was concerned, there's been an increase of 11% of businesses saying they are uncertain about where the economy is going. But back to the Zurich survey, not all is doom and gloom, and in fact this battering of confidence has spurred a number of businesses on, and in fact 48% of businesses said they have now increased their business development activities. And also 30% of them are now actively looking at ways of diversifying their income streams, just to diversify and take the edge off the risk. So you can see, whilst there are areas of concern, some businesses are rising to the challenge and making sure that they don't fall foul of falling confidence levels. Staying with confidence levels amongst business owners in the UK, a new survey carried out by Aldermore Bank, one of the challenger banks, has found out that there are many business owners out there who are still confident about the future. Their most recent SME Outlook report for 2016 revealed that 39% of business owners said they are planning to increase the number of staff that they hire over the next 5 years. And in fact, 22% of them are also planning to invest more in plant and machinery. Well, that's all good news. Also, 19% of them said they are actively planning mergers and acquisitions in order to increase the strength of their businesses. On a slightly downside, 14% of business owners said they're kind of happy where they are and they're not planning to change anything within their business. Now, 14% is not a significant number, but at the end of the day, every environment and every business does change. So just make sure that you are aware of what's going on around you and taking the necessary steps. In summary, one of the last positive findings out of that survey was that 86% of businesses classify themselves as in growth. And what better way can you end that survey by sharing the fact that there are positive business owners out there. Moving on now to our monthly look at how much UK banks are currently lending to small businesses. The figures have been released by the Bank of England as at the end of March as to how much money in terms of loans is currently outstanding to small businesses. Now, first of all, the clarification. Definition of a small business from the Bank of England's perspective is any business turning over less than £25 million a year. Yep, that's small. So at the end of March, total loans currently outstanding is £149.1 billion. So what's the movement? Well, in the month of March, new loans totaling £5.8 billion were advanced. But of course, small businesses repay loans, and repayments in that month was £5.6 billion, so leaving a net increase of £200 million. Pretty positive. But compare that to the net increase in February, that was £700 million. So we can see there's been a dip of about 500 million. Still in positive territory, but a dip compared to February. So whilst there's only 1 month's figures, we mustn't necessarily assume that UK small business owners have suddenly stopped borrowing money, but just maybe an early sign that confidence levels, even where borrowing money concerned, is on the wane. Well, if that's you, don't forget there are plenty of options out there to support your growth plans. And if you need to talk through those options, just drop us a line, info@businessloanservices.co.uk. On now to my business finance tip of the week. And my tip is, be upfront with your lender if you've had past credit problems. Well, we're currently going through a finance raise for a client who a few years ago did enter into a debt management plan. Now, luckily, as part of the due diligence process, that's come out in conversation, and as a result, we've been able to be upfront with the lender that we're talking to. And they've appreciated that, because if they found it on their own, then they would have assumed, what else have we hidden from them? That's not how we work. It's a case of being upfront, because all of these bad things eventually do come out when lenders are reviewing your case. So if you are looking at raising finance and you have got some skeletons in the cupboard, be upfront, because the chances are it'll come out anyway and it could hurt you. Well, that's it for this week, and as ever, I hope you enjoyed the bulletin. If you did, please give it a like and a share. Don't forget, if you're watching the YouTube version, there's a podcast version available on iTunes, Stitcher and SoundCloud. All you have to do is go and search for Business Finance Bulletin. And if you're listening to the podcast version, there's a video version. Just go along to YouTube and search for Rob Warlow. Well, that's it for this week. Thanks very much for being with me. Look forward to being with you again at the next bulletin. Have a great, successful and profitable week. Bye-bye now.